Hello, everyone, and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick. Welcome to the Debrief show. This is going to be a phone-in like last weekend as well. Before I do go there, though, it's time for me to give our long-time channel sponsors, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company, a shout-out. They're an absolutely fantastic business. I've known this guy for about a year now. It's West Ham run. He's an absolute West Ham fanatic, but more importantly, the product that they sell is phenomenal. If you like your tea, your coffee, and your hot chocolate now as well. They sell accessories. If you do go to the link in the description, you'll see their web store. Use our discount code Claret15 and you'll get a juicy discount. So go and support a local business. West Ham run as well. And also, to get this out of the way as well, if you are new to this wonderful channel, please subscribe. And don't forget, drop a like on the video. Do you know how many? There's about 30 or 40% of people that watch this show regularly that don't subscribe. Blows me mind. Just click the button. You get the alerts come through then. You press the bell. What we're going to talk about today, well, we're going to touch briefly on something that I missed from the game yesterday. Don't know how, because I was raging about it before I started recording, but it just went out of my head. The press conference that we've all seen. And then I'm going to go on to something a little bit deeper. I'm going to talk about that, you know, why we're here. I'm not going to spend too long on it. I'm going to whiz through it. You know, it's just the litany of crap that we've had since we've been here. Then I'm going to finish on Potter, West Ham, the summer. Then I'm going to open the phone lines up for you lovely lot to phone in. So let me find the phone number. 1 minute. I'm going to put it up on screen. Don't phone in now. Actually, don't phone in at all. Drop me a WhatsApp, not text message, because I'll get confused if I've got to open different things. So I'll just work on WhatsApp. Add me as a contact on this number, if I can find it. I can't see it. Is that the one? There you go. So add me as a contact on WhatsApp. Send me a WhatsApp. And then what I'll do is I'll phone you all back as and when. Otherwise, I just get... Because what I have to do otherwise, if I'm taking your phone calls, I'll just put the phone on Do Not Disturb. And then I end up missing calls anyway. Otherwise, I just get bloody loads of interference in the background. So just drop me a WhatsApp and then I'll phone you back and it'll be first come, first serve. All right, let's do it like that. I'll leave that up for a little while anyway. Yeah, so what I did miss from my little post-match discussion yesterday was the Soufal substitution. You know, bringing him on as a left back in place of Emerson, which was just completely mind blowing. And again, it's another change which has directly led to a negative result in 2 successive games now. So it's just really shocking. And is no doubt the cause of a lot of severe embarrassment to this man because he's way out of his depth. He is. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't like to see anyone as uncomfortable as what he was in that press conference. Don't get me wrong, I'm human. But I don't feel sorry for him. He took this job on and he's a bit of a waffler. And I just feel like it's all coming home to roost now, you know. I care more about West Ham fans. I know West Ham fans that are suffering with poor mental health and struggling because of what's happening at West Ham and because of what's happening with these games. They hang on for everything for the weekend and you've got this guy who's just dicking around. He's not up to the job that he took for an incredibly high amount of money. So I'm more concerned about West Ham and West Ham fans than I am Graham Potter. I don't like seeing anyone suffer, but at the end of the day, if you're a blagger, which is what he definitely is, it's going to come on top. It's coming on top quicker for him than he probably realised. So in his press conference, we all saw it. You know, he was completely despondent. He was red-faced, sort of slumped in his chair, puffing his cheeks, being incredibly dismissive and short and abrupt. You could tell that he was very angry because the question was asked about Füllkrug. You know, did it bother you that the fans were vocal in their support of Füllkrug, who he quite clearly tried to chastise and punish for speaking the truth? That's clearly not allowed. I mean, I understand the sentiment to a degree. Some things should be left in the changing room, but when you're in the situation that we're in at the moment and nobody at the club is saying anything, be it the board, the manager or the captain, we was all relieved to see Füllkrug come out. Something needed to be said. It was a relief for us to see that someone at that football club is feeling the same frustration as we are. But no doubt that triggered him because the West Ham fans were singing, they were siding with the player over him and his decision to punish him. Brings him on in the second half, transforms the way that we play. The end result's the same. But again, that was down to poor management. It weren't the worst performance yesterday. Not the worst. I mean, it was flawed. Again, James Ward-Prowse, they was running through our midfield. Our midfield was non-existent. Again, that was a poor Brighton side. They haven't won in 5. Enter Graham Potter, GP, Dr. Potter. If you need 3 points, go and see your GP. That's our manager. But yeah, he sort of said, I'm not a robot. I've got feelings as well. And I'm not going to go on to take the piss out of him in this because it would be in bad taste because he's clearly suffering. But look, ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a litany of things there that have made him melt down. First of all, we're not buying into his bullshit. The fan base are not. I very much doubt the chairman is. Like I said, like I said in the show yesterday, he's not going to be able to go to David Sullivan and show him data. Say, look, we're actually doing all right. Sullivan's just going to look at the bottom line and go, you're not. I want to win. You know, that's kind of, and that's the same for most Premier League clubs, to be honest. Very few are going to be that bothered by granular data when the bottom line is you're getting beat every week. It's irrelevant. You've got to find a way to win, and he's finding a way to undo wins as well. You know, even in games where the few games where we do perform all right, he messes it up with his tactical substitution. So he's got that pressure. He's got the pressure from the fans. He's got, unless he's stupid, he will see that he's not getting the best out of a very good group of players that he will know is going to be downgraded for next season. So he can't get the best and resonate with this group of talented players. But he's kind of trying to sell the dream that I don't even think he believes that he's going to improve us when these players are gone. The likes of Paqueta, who has just come back into form since he's come in. Lucky man. I mean, look, you can give him credit, I suppose, but I think it's more likely to do with the fact that the court case is going in Paqueta's favour now. So we're seeing more of the Paqueta of old. The pressure's off his shoulders, you can see it. So he's got that. He can't resonate with the players. He knows that the next season's squad isn't going to be very good. He's got fans turning against him. He's starting selections are wrong because he has to undo them at half time. Half the time he has to unfuck what he's done going into a game at half time. He's late substitutions to try and see out games have the opposite effect. You know, he'll remove attacking threats so we have no outlet, put on additional defenders. But all that does is it gives you're just inviting the whole team, the opposition, to attack you because they ain't got to worry about anything in behind them. So he's getting it all wrong. Everything's wrong. He knows he's out of his depth. And that was a game that meant nothing. Absolutely nothing. And he's literally had a tantrum like I would on a West Ham fan channel as a West Ham fan. I'm not a paid employee, you know? I don't get paid. He's got to be professional. Don't get me wrong, I don't want him paying his lip service, but you've got to be controlled. This is a guy that's a psychologist as well, you know? It's very, very concerning. You know, would you back this man if we was actually in a relegation battle? Look how he's just melted down. Some people are seeing it as passion. I'm not. I'm seeing it as him just cracking. He's breaking. Now, yeah, fair enough. It was probably the worst game for that to happen at because it was his old club. And there ain't no love lost there, is there? I know a lot of people are pointing to a handful of fans that have still got a little bit of time for Potter at Brighton, but the vast majority of them were pointing at him, calling him a wanker in that stadium. There's no love for him there at all. None. No affection. Whereas David Moyes, who I don't like, you know I don't. By the way, have a look at his recent run of results, ain't much better than ours. So he had his little bounce, gone back to normal again, innit? It's back to Sean Dyche. Draw, loss, draw, loss, draw, loss. Same thing, not scoring goals. Just saying. But yeah, West Ham fans have an affection for David Moyes, on the whole. You know, when we went away, he got a good reception. Not with Potter, with Brighton. Why is that? I thought he made Brighton what they are. Clearly not. We know that's not the case anyway, unless you're deluded. As Tony Bloom, the man with a plan. He's the one who's made Brighton what they currently are. So I don't see where you go from here. I think that must have been very worrying for the board, looking at that, thinking, shit. Because they would love to have kept him here. Like I've said, I fully believe, as you're going to go on to hear later on, that Sullivan has seen an opportunity in this window for a fire sale to get that churn of players moving again, you know, which he loves. He does love it, you know, and I'll go on to explain why in a little bit. And he's got the perfect fall guy already installed. You know, we'll get this summer out of the way, and if it goes to shit, which he probably will, we'll just sack him. He ain't my man anyway. It's perfect for him. I don't think they're going to be able to do it, though. This is a big problem. It's a big problem for Sullivan. How can you imagine if he doesn't win another game between now and the end of the season? That's going to be 12 games without a win. Not good. Not good at all. And if he was to, heaven forbid, lose the next 4 games, which is not beyond the realms of possibility, Tottenham, who is it? Tottenham, Man U, Nottingham Forest, who are still going to be playing for Europe, and then Ipswich, who will probably want to put on a performance for their fans at Portman Road, so they've got one last swan song in the Premier League, you know? So that'd be 5 straight losses, no wins in 12. Still going to keep him then, are you, Sullivan? Are you? Don't think you are you? I don't think even you can be that deluded, but we shall see. But now I'm going to move on to something else very quickly, you know, as to why we've ended up here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to spend long on this. I'm just going to lay it out as to what's happened, because a lot of people have said the same thing. And that's, bearing in mind, it's only people that are currently backing Potter that are now focusing on Sullivan. You know, when they're happy with certain things, we talk about Sullivan all the time. You can go back and look. I've been speaking about Sullivan for 3 years. He's always been the primary reason. But that doesn't mean the crap managers that he puts in place, in post, that are damaging my football club. They are a symptom of Sullivan, but they're still a problem, so you focus on them. I'll focus on them because I don't want to accept what Sullivan feeds me. As far as I see it, when I say no to something he hands me, which is shit, that's me sticking 2 fingers up at Sullivan. Not having it, mate. Don't want him. Sack him, pay him off, get someone better in. Do your job, Sullivan. You're a custodian. So, yeah, that's where I stand on it. But it is true. The main reason that we are in this mess, and that it's probably going to get a lot worse, is down to Gold, Sullivan, Brady. And do you know what now? The useless fucker that is Kretinsky. I mean, what even is that bloke? What's he there for? What did he buy in for? What's he got all those shares if he was going to do nothing with it? Do you know what I mean? But anyway, look, as we know, all started when they came in. They had this big plan, this grand plan at Birmingham. They wanted that stadium. They was going to do the stadium move. It was like a land grab. That's what they wanted to do. They literally picked that template up when they failed there, and brought it to Upton Park, who had just failed because our chairman at the time, the Biscuit Baron, had gone into financial meltdown, and they went and picked us up at a fucking bargain price. And you had the London Stadium that was being built, the Olympic Stadium. It was perfect, absolute perfect timing for them. So they picked that blueprint up, brought it over to West Ham with no care or consideration for anything to do with our heritage or anything else. It's all about cashing in. Yeah, David Gold from 442 Green Street, the long-time West Ham fan, which I don't doubt that he was, but he liked money more. It was all about that business plan. You know, they sold our asset because, you know, last week I labelled the show, "This is an asset strip." Well, it's not really. I had a conversation with someone on the phone and they corrected me. They said the asset strip has already been done. This is just a fire sale of our last remaining, if you can call them assets. But the main assets, our stadium, it's gone. They've sold it. Not to mention the other dodgy dealings that went on with the redevelopment of Upton Park, which is something else that you can talk about. Go and have a look online. It's all there, you know. What else did we have? The training ground, remortgaged. We basically sold it back to the bank. Loans against transfer fees that we've got coming into us, against upcoming TV revenue. You know, even COVID, they borrowed against at really low rates. And then when it came to West Ham as a club needing the cash injection because we need to buy players, Gold and Sullivan, they'll lend us their money at a higher rate. Yeah, that's what they did. You know, I don't know what the stats were. What was it? Borrowing from the bank at 0.5% and loaning it back to us at 4.5%. Yeah, money makes money, doesn't it? So that's literally what they've done. But why would they do that really for West Ham? And what's the long con that's been going on since the dawn of time at West Ham? Well, look, you see, a football club, it's a business, the same as any other business. And the owners, especially in this type of situation that they've got, where you've got multiple board members, stakeholders, you can't just go in and pull money out as and when you want. You just can't, you know. You're not allowed. And even if you were, the other stakeholders would have something to say about it. So what do? What's the best way of doing it at a football club? Well, that's having the club money constantly moving via a player churn, via your favourite agents. Ins, outs. We look at it, the high-level embarrassments of losing loads of money on players. There's agent fees both ways, isn't there? So you're moving all that money via favourite agents. You do the maths. And is it a failure? Or is it by design? Think about it. Just think about the style of managers that demand a new rebuild when they come in, because they're nothing like the manager that was there before them. So they've got a completely unfit for purpose squad. And they need new players. It's perfect. We went from Zola to Avram Grant. We went from Grant to Big Sam. We went from Sam to Slaven Bilic. Bilic to Moyes. Moyes to Pellegrini. Pellegrini back to Moyes. Moyes to Loppi. And then Loppi to Potter. All completely different managers that keep that player churn going. Keep that club money moving. Keep it moving. That's the long con. And that's been going on since they've been in here. They've been using this club as their own personal piggy bank. As long as we've been staying in the Premier League, that's all that's mattered, because the TV revenue is very important to a club that have fuck all assets left. Now, once this fire sale has been carried out in the summer, that's the last of our assets. Gone. Finished. No stadium. No training ground because it's mortgaged. A squad worth bugger all. And all we're reliant on is TV money. You drop out that Premier League, we're probably going to be insolvent when you consider our debts and our loans that we've got against this club. And they always make sure that they keep within the rules of FFP, don't they? Of course they do. The last thing they want to do is instigate an investigation into our financial dealings. They're not silly. That's why they stay away from FFP, so they can operate underneath the radar. I'm convinced of it. But when you look back at this, I mean, these are big accusations I'm making here, but it's there in black and white. If this isn't what they've done, then it points to something even worse, which is incompetence. And it is worse, because this would make them absolutely thick as shit business people, even if you don't understand football. Thick as shit business people. They're not. They're billionaires. Of course, this is all by design, but they have almost milked this cow dry. They have. They're squeezing out the last few drops this summer, and they've got the perfect firewall, the perfect fire blanket there that they've installed again, because they do this. You know, they loved Sam because the fans hated him. They loved Moyes because the fans hated him. They didn't like Bilic because the fans liked him, so they killed Bilic, got rid of him. They like our attention to be diverted onto a manager. You know, they don't just manage a football team. They get in someone that can just about do the job, but they're shit, and the fans will focus on them, focus on the manager and not them. So it's a very basic design when you look at it, really. And that is what it's all about, this club. It is. I don't think we're the only club that run this way, by the way. You know, it's money. Money ruins everything. It really does. But we're almost at the stage, you know, if we drop out the Premier League, we are, I'm pretty certain we're going to be reinventing that scene, the famous scene from EastEnders where you got Ian Beale snuggling into Phil Mitchell, screaming, "We've got nothing left." We've basically got nothing left already. Thanks to this lot. I'm sure they thought they was going to get offered to buy the stadium for £1 as well, because again, the land thing for them, I reckon that's what they thought was going to happen. They negotiated such a good deal for us, but a bad deal for the rest of the UK in terms of the drain on the taxpayer, that I'm pretty certain that they thought that they was going to get offered that stadium for £1 or something like that. Ain't going to happen. That's failed. So all the big assets have been sold off, you know, or borrowed against. All we've got left now to top up the piggy banks, player churn. Players in, players out. That's why it don't make sense to go out and just get another manager that's maybe better, but in a similar mould that could work with the players that you've got. That makes no sense. We don't want that. Also, bringing youth players through. There's no agent fees involved in that. How many youth players have we seen come through under Golden Sullivan? We haven't, not really. A handful. One in Declan Rice, who's really sort of made it. But there hasn't really been opportunities. They've been few and far between. So, yeah, look, that is it from me anyway. Now we're going to move on to the phone call. So I've sort of opened it up wider than just Graham Potter. And we're going to focus on Golden Sullivan as well. They are the root cause of anything at West Ham. Until they go, I don't know how they're going to go. Because I don't even know what we're worth now. I mean, I know they've got these stupid ideas that we're worth 2 billion, 3 billion. For what? For what? Newcastle was sold for 300 million a few years ago. How the fuck are we worth a couple of billion? Are they mad? They're absolutely mental. They're never going to get anywhere near that. So, yeah, I think we're stuck with them because they're not going to sell it for anything less than what they value it at. And what they value it at, it ain't worth. So I think we're up shit creek. I really do. Anyway, let's get your phone calls in. I'm going to go through WhatsApp now and start phoning people back. Hello, everyone. Well, it's same as last week. I've done a little pre-recorded video for you all just so that I could get my points across. But I am going to put this comment up here. This is why they get away with it. Never attribute to malice what can be adequately explained by stupidity. They hide under the blanket of stupidity. We just call them idiots, wankers, and whatever else, and move on and just think they're idiots. That's what they hide behind. They're happy for you to call them that. Honestly, if you think that this isn't by design, you've got to look at the bigger picture, mate. Honestly. It benefits them. It does. They completely change direction. If we go from Potter, if Potter does get this window and he builds a possession-based squad, the next manager will be a different style altogether, which means that we need a complete new team and a complete new direction. No one's that stupid. Nobody is that stupid. They're not. So, yeah, they are evil. Honestly, it is insidious what they've done to this football club, to our family, really, because to us, it is, I've said it before, it is a family at West Ham, or it always was, and they've just completely and utterly, they've milked it dry, they've killed it stone dead, and those last few that are hanging on, I feel really sorry for them. I do. What's poor Gold done now? Yeah, look, I don't like speaking ill of the dead, but he's culpable, mate. And let's face it, you know, I didn't go in too hard on him, but he's just as culpable. Let's face it, you know. Don't buy any of that shit. He was apparently a West Ham fan, but they had a plan when they came in, and that was just to sell off Upton Park. It was as simple as that. It wasn't to make us bigger and better. Look now, they're going to take us backwards. They are. We still haven't reached the heights, I don't think, in terms of the type of football that we was playing and the entertainment that we was all feeling of 15-16 when we were still at Upton Park. That was the best season in the last 10, 12 years. We won the cup and we've had some good league finishes, but the football's been average as fuck since we've been there. It just has. It's as simple as that. Right. Unsurprisingly, this week I haven't got I haven't got any WhatsApps. None of you want to talk to me. So that is absolutely fine. So what I'll do is I'll go through the chat. If you've got any we got El Tel here. On the banks of the Royal Blue Mersey, Everton fan, you need new owners ASAP like we did. There's a buyer out there for a big club and London. Yeah. Mate, I think there's a buyer out there. There's more than one as well. The issue that we've got is the club's valuation of West Ham. They think we're worth an absolute fortune. We're not. They don't get it. And we are assetless. We're renting a stadium. I just don't. That isn't fit for purpose. I just don't get it. I don't really get where they think that they're taking us. Also, Eltel, how are you feeling? Not rubbing salt in the wounds, by the way. How are you feeling now about David Moyes? Are you still as chipper? And that's not me having a snipe. I'm just keen to know. No, similar sort of run as us in the past few games. So again, that's not me having a stab. I'm just trying to understand and gauge how it's going for Moisey now after his bounce. All going well? So, Nick, as a family, what can we do? It's horrible, mate. Hello, Yardy. The only thing that we can do, really, is focus all of our attention on the board. If we've got that sort of fight left, I don't know. Prior to COVID, the protests were really, really picking up some momentum, and that was the closest that we've come to getting him out of our club, and then COVID hit, you know. Very unfortunate for us, very fortunate for David Sullivan and David Moyes, and then us as well, because we went on to have a couple of years in Europe, which we enjoyed, which are just looking like to be nothing more than a dead cat bounce for this club, because I can't see us ever getting back to that. You know, it started to foul under Moyes in the last few years, and we've just been going down since Prague. You know, the litany of mistakes, the litany of errors since Prague are crazy. Since they've taken over, what have they done well? What have they done right for this club? Absolutely fuck all. Nothing. It's criminal what they've done. But in terms of Graham Potter, oh yeah, look, yeah, Matthew, I'm going to give you a call back in a second, mate. In terms of Potter, he's got to go. I don't buy into all this, oh, you can't talk about the manager, you got to focus. That's convenient for people that are backing the manager at the moment. When they've got a manager that they like and they don't want to be proven wrong, who gives a fuck if you're wrong or you're right? I had somebody on the comments yesterday, sort of, nice bloke, but he apologised to me. He said in the comments, he went, hi, Nick, you know, I thought you were just being negative for negative's sake, and it looks like your judgment was bang on, and I'd just like to apologise. Don't apologise. It's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. I believe in what I'm telling you. I don't do anything for effect. If I'm telling you something, I believe it. It doesn't mean I'm right. I'm as wrong as often as I'm right. We're all the same. Everyone's opinion is valid. But this, with the managers that they've been appointed, I'm instantly cynical anyway. And you could see it weren't going to, for me, I could see that weren't going to work with Potter. You know, as far as I can see, that doesn't make me a genius to say that Potter was going to fail. You could see it. I mean, it's the biggest false economy in the world. The biggest false economy in the world is to keep on going out, getting damaged goods managers that have got the weight of their previous failure on their shoulders, having to come in to a club that more often than not are struggling to try and motivate them. You've got to go out and get a fucking winner. It's a false economy. Look how much they've had to pay Loppy and what they're probably going to have to pay Potter off. We could have just gone and bought out Marco Silva and would have been higher up the league. So it is definitively a false economy. They like spending money on manage. I mean, we only got Loppy in because it was via Salthouse. The churn. Club money churn. That's what I'm telling you. You know, if there's so many players out there, that's what do you know what? I'm probably not going to go into the summer window this year, because you heard me reporting on the January transfer window. I was on it all the time. I was speaking to people that were actively bringing players to the club, really good fucking players, and we were doing all we could to stop deals happening. If not Sullivan, he's intermediaries that he's got surrounding him. They're ring-fenced by people that have not got West Ham's best interests at heart. We never sign the best players. We don't. We get the odd gem, i.e. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We've got an Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Salthouse. Fine. You know, I'm glad we've got him. But the fact of the matter is, the types of players that are being brought in, for instance, do you remember on deadline day, who's the Wolves defender? Because we know that Pereira has been really important to Wolves, and if you look at their recent run of results, it's been brilliant. But if you speak to Wolves fans, they'll tell you, on the transfer deadline show, you can go back and check it more towards the end, I took a phone call live on air, and I said, West Ham have just been offered a player called Agbadou. First refusal. That was apparently Potter and Macaulay turned around and said, no, not he's not what we want. That was about £12 million, that deal for that centre-back. Shits on every centre-back that we've got. He's transformed Wolves' defence. There are people out there that want to work with West Ham that are trying to bring us players, but they'll never get them through because we always have to go via the preferred agents on whoever's on their fucking books. And if these players aren't on their books, we have to try and insert them into deals. And if players or those agents of players say, no, I'm not having that, then they get called greedy agents because they want all the club money for themselves. That's the long and short of it. Right, before I call Mike back, I neglected to talk about probably the best fight most enjoyable fight I've ever seen with Conor Benn and Eubank Jr. I mean, that was fucking epic last night. Rarely does a fight live up to the hype. Well, that exceeded the hype. That was, I mean, there wasn't a loser in that fight. Not in any way. You know, Ben's gone up a couple of weights. He was by far the smaller man, but he was much quicker than Eubank. Eubank had to come down a few weights. He's obviously the older man as well. But they were just trading blows and just trying to kill each other. It weren't technically the best fight. It was a brawl. It was a 12-round brawl. Fantastic. Both of them taking risks. You know, both of them were fucking a net's dick away from being knocked out a few times because there was a lot of air shots, wasn't there? You know, I think about 30% of the punches thrown landed. They were trying to kill each other. It was unbelievable. Do I want to see a rematch? No. I don't, because Eubank's too big. Ben is he's by far the superior boxer, but he's too big. You saw it. A couple of times when Eubank sort of leaned into him, fucking Ben went flying. You know, he is a superior boxer, but he's too big. He'll get hurt, I think. I don't think they've got nothing more to prove, them two. They haven't. They both showed amazing heart. It was brilliant, honestly. I don't think that my personal... I'm not a boxing expert. I mean, I used to box when I was younger, but I'm not an expert by any means. I had that down worst way as a draw. So for there to be a 4-round disparity in that, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, I didn't see that. But nonetheless, scorecard aside, that is, both of those blokes were involved in one of the best fights of all time. So there isn't a loser in that. There's not. Plus, Benny's 28. He's still got his career in front of him. He's got nothing to be gained. You know, his stock, even though he lost, his stock is now high. It really is. So for me, yeah, I'm happy for there to not be a rematch. I'll just follow Conor Benn, go and batter some people in and around his own weight, which he needs to do because he's a really fun fighter. I love people that are full on. But anyway, look, I'm going to stop talking about boxing now. Well done, Ben. Well done, Eubank. Yeah, it was good. It was good drama, wasn't it? Really good. It's like watching a West Ham match. Right. Do you know what? I haven't even paired me thing yet. I'm such an amateur. 1 minute. Hang on. Give us a moment, people, please. I'm going to give Mike a call. Right, if anyone else does want to call in, WhatsApp, don't phone in, please, if you can, and I'll phone you back. Right, let's see if that's worked, first of all. Right, Mike, I'm going to try and call you. If I ring off... 1 minute, let's see if this works. Oh, first time. There you go. It's never happened, ever. It's a good sign.
Hi, Nick.
Hello, Mike. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Cheers for calling in. You've keeping me company. What would you like to talk about?
Well, it was a disaster again yesterday.
Yeah.
When we went 2-1 up, I actually thought we were going to win for once, which would have been good. The performance weren't that good, but he's got to sort out the problems that he's having, as you've been saying, with certain players. I mean, it was a perfect game to play someone like Alvarez and not James Ward-Prowse or even Soler. Believe it or not, I'm happy Souček played. I think he had a fairly good game. Don't think he did anything majorly wrong. Same as Mavraponi. I love it that you named that. I thought he looked the best of the three.
He wasn't Mavraponi yesterday. He was good.
He was probably the best out of the three centre halves, to be honest. I mean, we've Kilman is a nightmare now. I mean, there was excuses before that.
I've seen Kilman as the issue from the start, personally, and I know a lot of people have been focusing on Mavropanos because he makes the headline errors that led to a few goals, and they always go, "Oh, Mavropanos looks Kilman looks better when he's got better defenders around him." Well, you're like, what? I think that the root cause of the issue maybe is that the rest of the defenders are shaky when they're playing with fucking Kilman. He's useless.
Well,
honestly,
I mean, he he didn't support Scholes, did he, when they played Liverpool?
No.
He was on that side, and he should have supported Scholes more, which I think arguably Creswell supported Scholes more. Scholes looked better when Creswell was playing on that side.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying Creswell should be playing. I'm just saying that he supported Scholes more, as a young new player. But I think there needs to be major changes to the team. I can't see them getting rid of Kilman. I know there's been talk of that, but who's going to buy him?
Then our defensive issues will never be resolved in the Premier League. I said it before. Unless we turn into a full-on attacking team, then you haven't got to worry as much about you. I mean, you still need good defenders, but if we was to do our recruitment and focus more on attacking impetus and becoming a team that plays on the front foot and pushes the opposition back, then do you know what? You can probably get away with having defenders that are a little bit weaker. But when you're so heavily reliant on playing backs to the wall football, which we've played now forever, you've got to have good fucking defenders, mate. You've either got to have good defenders or that world-class CDM in Declan Rice covering the defenders. We've got neither at the minute.
No. I mean, we knew we could never replace Declan. When we brought in some ways, you would have said the replacements at the time for him was Kudus and Alvarez. And Alvarez, I felt when he started off, was superb, whatever's happened in terms of what we don't know behind the scenes is, let's be frank, is it Alvarez? Is it just what he doesn't like from what the managers are doing? Is there an issue there? You imagine now he will be gone at the end of the season, rightly or wrongly, because Potter won't be gone. Like you mentioned at the start about could we lose the next 4 or 5 games? Definitely. You want to imagine Ipswich, even last game, want to go out with a bit of a swan song. No guarantees Tottenham will play because Tottenham can sometimes play well, even though they're shit.
Yeah.
Man United away is going to be tough, and Forest seem to have a bit of a thing on us. Not just this season; they've been beaten us previous seasons. I think they beat us 2-0 up there last season.
I'm just fed up with the excuses, mate. I've even seen West Ham fans now justifying the result against Southampton by saying, "Did you see how far they pushed Fulham yesterday? They're actually a good team." There's just you can't make an excuse for losing to every team in the Premier. You can't. But these people will.
No.
There'll be mitigation as to why. Brentford, we never beat them. Brighton, oh, well, look, we never win there. Fucking, Palace, it was windy that day. Blah, blah. You just, fucking hell, come on. When the trend is loss, draw, loss, draw, loss, there's a fucking problem, isn't there? A serious problem.
Yeah. I mean, we've obviously got the striker problem, which that I know he should have started Fulkrug without a doubt, regardless of what Fulkrug said. I love what Fulkrug actually said.
Yeah.
He should have started him yesterday, but then he should have not played. I think if he could have played Fulkrug, arguably play 4 at the back, but then it's I would have dropped Kilman and played Mavropanos and Todibo at the back. Kept it with Emerson Wan-Bissaka, not a problem. And then the midfield should have been, like I said, Alvarez if we'd planned, but we don't know what's going on. I would have still played Sushik and Keta and front 3, obviously Fulkrug, Bowen and Kudus. Pretty straightforward. So we got that totally wrong.
But this is the thing, right? So we keep on saying, we're blaming the players. Now, don't get me wrong. I know and they're not wrong. There's a lot of players, more so, that shouldn't be in the squad as opposed to calling out the players for underperforming. We're playing players that shouldn't be playing. I mean, like Sufel came on, played at left back. He shouldn't be there. If you was going to make that change, you pull Wan-Bissaka to left back and you put Sufel on at right back, so he's on his comfortable side. But it was just, it was absolutely, he played right into their manager's hands. At the second he did what he did, bringing Sufel on, they switched Matoma to his side to go on to Sufel.
Yeah. I mean, as well as that,
he's making mistakes every week. I can't justify it for him anymore, mate. I can't.
No, there there was, as well as the bit with Soufal, there was terrible defending in the centre there when the ball was able to come into Mitoma. Who was marking Mitoma?
No one was marking Mitoma. Supposed to be Kilman, just let him go.
No, and again, the midfield need to follow that in as well. They were, you would argue, at 6s and 7s. I just thought we'd scrape it 2-1. I was massively disappointed, even though in some ways it doesn't matter, but it still does, just to show that we're still competing. I wouldn't say that we're not playing for him. I wouldn't say he's lost the dressing room. I actually do think he could be a good manager. Is it a West Ham? Maybe not. Can we keep replacing managers? No.
What are you basing that on? Please tell me. Go on. I'm not calling you out. I want you, because I don't get this. So explain what you've seen from Potter at West Ham and at Brighton that makes you think that he could be a good manager for us.
Yeah. So I've been watching loads of different stuff, and even some of the Brighton fans that hate him actually said at one stage they were playing some great football. I mean, I know you say like there's players that are brought in by the directors of football and things like that, or the scouting teams, but then you've still got to put them into a system. So he had good stuff there when we were saying that with Brighton, and the players that moved on from there, like McAllister and other players.
But what he had was a clear structure at Brighton, which he has not got at West Ham, which he's not going to have at West Ham, whereby the machinery was, you've got overarching, you've got Tony Bloom as the director that kind of sees it, or the club owner that basically enables the director of football and everyone else to bring in players to suit the manager and the style of play. So he is hand-given players to suit what he's trying to do. He's never going to do that at West Ham. And what he's shown me since he's been here is that he is incapable of working with anyone, of getting the best out of something that isn't perfect for him. He physically can't. What Potter will not get at West Ham are the perfect pieces that he got at Brighton. He will not get that. So he's always going to have to be flexible and have more about him if he's going to succeed here, because he's never going to get the perfect pieces. He's just not. They can go out and identify players. Sullivan's got to close the deals and bring him in, and ignore his favourite agents who are going to offer him alternatives. It's never going to happen. Ever.
No, I mean, until the owners have gone, which is, we don't know when, there's always going to be a problem for any manager coming in. I, like you, I totally wanted Moyes out, but in that, and I know when we played, our best football was probably on lockdown, if we're honest, and he struck it lucky with Lingard. I mean, that football we were playing there, which was mostly on the counter attack, was superb.
It turned into Maradona, didn't he, for a few games, Lingard?
Oh, incredible!
Yeah.
And we've arguably got to find a player like that was like him coming out midfield. Don't get me wrong, we also had Rice in that team, and there's things, and you had even Antonio still playing really well. And linking up, and we were great on the counter attack. Is that counter attack the sort of football again that we need to revert back to, which we're not?
But you can't. I've already explained. Did you see the video where I explained why counter attack football is short termism?
I'm sure you did, because that was about Forest, wasn't it?
Yes,
and you were saying that they will be found out.
We got found out. So because if you are that lethal, what counter attacking football is doing fuck all, sitting back, being really defensively resolute, letting the opposition come at you, and then basically sucker punching them with a lethal counter attack. Well, you do that over a sustained, but you do that over a sustained period. In the end, the opposition go, do you know what? Fuck off. We're not doing that. We're not playing ball. They'll drop a little bit deeper. All of a sudden, your counter attacking goals will dry up, and so you can't sustain forever unless you've got world-class players. World-class players, world-class defenders, world-class CDMs, and world-class forwards, and you're playing in a little bit less of an intense league. The only thing that you've got with that is the element of surprise. Once that is no longer a surprise, it stops working.
I mean, so we've got to think about what players, again, have to go at the end of the season. We can't let Paqueta go, but if there was a big offer coming in, hopefully not from Premiership team, maybe we do need to let Kudus go, because for a long while we've not got the best out of him. I know he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
But if you've got a player like that who you're relying on and nothing's coming from it, which I think we could get a lot more out of Somerville and Lingard when they're Guilherme. I really like Guilherme. I'd like to see him get more of a chance next season. And obviously, when Somerville's back, I think we'll make some difference in terms of pace. That's what we're lacking in. Still think Alvarez will go. And if we could bring in a quality CDM, we've got to get Ward-Prowse out of the team. I would, even if you wouldn't, I would keep Souček. He does provide goals. We know he's not technical. He never will be.
He kills whatever midfield that he's in. He does. He'll mitigate that with the odd goal, which covers up for a multitude of sins that basically was what we was watching yesterday, was an opposition team running through our midfield like it's not there. So what you're doing is you're effectively putting in a player and carrying him in midfield in case he can get on the end of a cross once every 4 or 5 games. Personally, for me, I'd keep him as a squad player. I will never, ever understand the loving with him, because I look beyond the goal, that him getting his head on the end of a cross and then envisaging that he had a great game. I look at, he's done fuck all, but he's just popped up and scored at the end. I think sometimes it can get in the way. I think with when you've got Fulkrug up there, you've got someone leading that line, you don't necessarily need him. I know he scored when Fulkrug was on the pitch, but I don't think you necessarily need him. For instance, Souček in the first half, he was where Fulkrug should have been if Fulkrug was on the pitch. When that ball gets squared across to him and he's 6 yards out, if that's Fulkrug, he probably puts that in.
Well, I think he had the header in the first half, didn't it? It hit the bar.
Yeah, but it'd go in.
No, and Fulkrug's had 2 fantastic efforts, the same that hit the bar in other games. I just think we need to get the defence. We need to get the whole team right, which is unfortunately means certain players, because of money and stupid PSR and everything else, have to move on. Which the only people that can give us any money back would be like the likes of Alvarez and Kudus. I'd like both players a lot, but I'm just thinking in terms of the money side of it. If we could get someone to buy Kilman, then yes, I would let him go. Which, believe it or not, means maybe we do keep Mavropanos, but I wouldn't have him to start. I would have him still as a squad player. And need to get rid of the likes of Kafau. I wouldn't get rid of Souček, like I said.
I think so. I do think Souček, if he's happy to do so, which we've already heard that he isn't, because he spoke to Czech. Well, apparently Czech media have come out and said that he threatened Lopetegui that play me or I want out. That's apparently what he said. So if Souček's going to stay, he has to play. He demands to with all due respect, fuck off. He ain't that good that he can demand to play every minute of every game at West Ham. If he was happy to be here and be a squad player, then yes, absolutely. Brilliant player from the bench. But he's never going to be happy to do that, mate, I don't think, at West Ham. He's got to be a first-team player.
No, I mean, it's finding the right players, obviously, which is so difficult to bring in. We need a good CDM, and it's like, who is that now?
Yeah.
I mean, the talk of Polinia coming back from Bayern Munich, would he be the right fit?
He's another 30-year-old player, though, that we'd have to pay a lot of money for, big wages.
Yeah, but then hopefully we're looking at the likes of Urfi and Potts coming back, and let's see what they can provide. Send out Orford on loan.
I'm hoping that we're moving on past signing players at their peak. What we should be looking at is signing the Polinia from Sporting Lisbon that Fulham signed when he was 24, something like that, for about 20 million.
Yeah.
Not signing the 30-year-old version who's on about 150 grand a week at Bayern Munich, who's basically going to... We've got to stop doing that, being a retirement home. We've got to. I mean, especially the position that we're in now. We're 17th in the league. The only top-level players that will entertain coming to West Ham are players that are just after the paycheck. They're not coming. but they're not coming for football reasons. So therefore,
No.
you've got to be going for players that are looking, and that makes us a stepping stone club. So if you're going out and you're buying top players either from Europe or even the Championship, we're only ever going to be a stepping stone as a 17th place Premier League club. They're coming in to hope that they hit the ground running, give themselves a great profile so that they can earn a move elsewhere. That's who we are now at West Ham. It just is.
Yeah, and we have always bought them players in. Unfortunately, that retirement home type players. We've done that for many, many years. But maybe there is a few players in the Championship that could make a difference to this team, but you can't bring in too many, even if there's two. I mean, it's a bit like when we brought Bowen in. I know he hit the ground running straight away and he's improved massively as a player. So we need something like that. Like you say, defensive-wise, if someone could buy the likes of Kilman, get rid of Soufal now. He's had his day. I think Alvarez and Kudus will go. Partly it might be their own choice. You've obviously got a fair chunk of money there to buy the players in. I still really like Areola. Yeah, he's got a mistake in him now and again, but I still think he's quality.
Yeah.
If we can keep Fulkrug fit, I think he's a quality player. I really do. But we still need a young striker.
You need a primary striker and keep Fulkrug as a supplementary striker, because Fulkrug has already proven, not just at West Ham, but in his previous life, that he's an injury waiting to happen. So you can't build anything around him, unfortunately. But I do want to keep him here because I think he's a leader, which is what he's proven. And I think if you use him in the right way, I'd be happy to use him for the last 45 minutes of games if we was playing a striker in the first half. Do you know what I mean? This setting up without a fucking striker is beyond me. I mean, for me, I'm not on this train with it's a right thing to do. He hasn't had a window yet. It's a right thing to do to give him. We're on the cusp. We're literally on a cliff edge. We're going to finish 17th in the league. We can't afford to get worse. Yeah. And because it's the right thing to do, we're going to put our future and our destiny in a hands that's just fucking cracked in a press conference and is losing and drawing for fun and showing nothing. That, to me, and I don't want to offend anyone, it's stupid as far as I'm concerned. If you owned this club, if this was your business, for instance, don't forget it's a football club. If this was your business and you had a similar scenario working in a different industry, and this was what your manager was doing, and a similar overhaul was coming in the summer, you would be going, this man ain't the man. I've got to fucking replace him. I'm not entrusting the future of my business on him. It'd be gone, dust.
Well, at the moment, he seems like a bit of a broken man, especially after that press conference yesterday.
And we're playing for nothing. So imagine if you're in a relegation battle next year. How's that sort of pressure? He ain't under pressure yet. He don't know what pressure is. There will be next year, because this is to be fair to Potter, he's going to be on a hiding to nothing next season, because it's going to be tough next year, even if we get the window right, because you do have to allow new players in a mass rebuild to bed in. He ain't getting no time next year if he's just had the fucking run of games at the end of this season that he's just had, spends a load of money in the summer. He'll be treated worse than Lopetegui was at the start of this season, who spent 150 million. He will be the pin-up boy, the sacrificial lamb that will be blamed by all fans and the board, and he'll be sacked. I don't see how he can succeed, because even if you do mass changes, unless there is some fucking miracle, you've got, like, I don't know, what, a 5% chance of us selling all these players, going out and buying all the right players, and for them to all hit the ground running and become a football team in the first 10 games. That ain't going to happen. He's gone. He's dust at West Ham.
Well, not that I ever want us to lose, ever, and I've never wanted us to lose any games, and it depresses me. But when, arguably, then, is it a good thing then that we lose the next few games, and then that means he's gone because there was some clause? We don't know.
I mean, for me, the next few games mean nothing. I've seen enough, because we're coming up against Spurs, who are going to be playing us in the middle of a cup semi-final. They're playing on Thursday, then Sunday, then Thursday
Yeah.
again. They're going to be. I still think they'll beat us, but they'll be rotating their
Wouldn't surprise
squad.
me.
But they'll be rotating their squad, and they won't be playing at 100%. Even though their 100% has been shit this year in the Premier League, still think they'll beat us. But winning that would mean not a lot. Not to me. It doesn't prove anything. Winning that game.
It doesn't prove anything, but you always want to beat Spurs. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm away that weekend. But knowing me, I'll probably say to my wife, right, you go to the spa and I'll be trying to find it on a telly somewhere. But because obviously you always want to win that game. And even though it's not going to make much difference to the table or anything like that, it's just beating Spurs.
Yeah.
But like you said, I honestly think we're going to lose.
I think we will. I think we will.
And I just hope that they do have the courage of their conviction and get rid. But I honestly don't think they will. And if they don't, then we've got to make the right changes.
There is a very real argument now. Now, this argument didn't exist when Moyes was here, and to an extent, it didn't exist when Lopetegui was here because our stock has just continually fallen. So after Moyes, we had a bit of a profile, and there were some big managers interested in that role. Amorim, we could have got in. And I know he ain't done well at Man U this year, but that's a guy that will kick on next year. 100% he will. He's got a vision. He's got a way that he wants to play. He will kick on. I don't think he's the right man for them either. Same as I don't think Ange is the right man for Tottenham. I don't think he is. And I don't think Van Nistelrooy should have taken the Leicester job because I think they needed Jesus, not a manager. But with at that time when Moyes was going and then when Loppe went, we could attract more managers that they would have looked at us and gone, yeah, that's fine. You know, they've just been in Europe for 3 years. It's not as bad. You know, it doesn't look that good behind the scenes, but, you know, Moyes did all right with it, so must be okay. Now, when you look at how they've treated Moyes probably towards the tail end of his tenure, because they didn't even deal with that right. Lopetegui as well. That was bad. He was only here 6 months. In the middle of that 6 months, his dad died and he really struggled with it. Showed no class whatsoever in the way that he was sacked. And we were, a lot of people are going to laugh. When I did the show on Max Allegri, who I know is a defensive manager, but he's more of a Mourinho. He's a winner. That's what he does. You know, he's a top level. You know, he's defensive with a plan, and it's to win games. But Max Allegri, when he came in to talk to West Ham, he was never going to take over West Ham midway through a season. That's what I reported. Have a look on the show. I haven't taken it down. I said he was going to be here until the end of the season. And what Allegri advised Sullivan to do at the time was to stick with Lopetegui. He said he will keep you safe because I think they've got similar agents or something, or same agents. He said, stick with Lopetegui until the end of the season. You ain't getting relegated. You're not getting into Europe. You'll be fine, but don't go replacing the manager now. After what they've done with this knee-jerk reaction, which I suppose we're all part of because I didn't want Lopetegui here, but I wanted them to go out and get a good manager, not Potter. Now I think we are finally at a stage where, but who you're going to get in is a viable argument. Because I think we've completely and utterly destroyed our reputation in that little circle of top managers that are looking for work. The only people that are going to come here now are going to be the down and outs, the ones that we always get, the false economy managers, the managers that are carrying the burden of their previous failures on their shoulders. We're not going to be able to go and convince, I don't believe now, a Marco Silva, pay his release clause. Come on, Marco, come to West Ham. He'd be like, you sure? Now, he wanted to come 2 managers ago. Not now, when we're going to be selling all the players that he wanted to work with. That's one of the reasons he wanted to come in. He was licking his lips at the prospect of working with some of the players that we've got because they would have suited his style, but we didn't do it. So now we're in a situation where, well, who are we going to get in now? I mean, what have they done? Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we can't say for defo, but I think we'd have had more points if we would have actually held on to Loppe than we've got now.
We would have definitely had more points. That's undeniable.
Yeah. And there was the manager you were talking about once, the Italian guy who went to, I don't know, really odd club. He managed
one second, mate. Just very quickly, you can go back to it. Trodge, I'm going to tell you all something now. If you go back to that show, I said to you what I was excited about wasn't just Allegri. I'm going to tell you who it was now. wasn't just Allegri, it was who his assistant was going to be. Allegri identified that what he needed was somebody that would... He saw the disconnect at West Ham, and he saw that we need someone that would galvanise the fans with the club, and somebody that would identify. His assistant manager was going to be Ogbonna. That's who it was going to be if he came in.
Right, okay.
So it was going to be Allegri and Ogbonna. Ogbonna was going to be coming back. But,
that would have been great. I mean, that would have been superb. I mean, there was the manager, though, you liked that. I can't remember where he managed, but he managed this really... He had all the big teams. He wanted to manage like quite a small team. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
And I know he would have been someone very different if we'd have got him in.
Yeah.
Name can't pronounce, but I think he managed Como or something like that. I'm trying to think now. But it's down to Sullivan, isn't it? At the end of the day. And it's him that unfortunately makes the decisions. And if he was even going to replace manager, I can't honestly think he will.
Yeah, world exclusive.
I just think,
this is what could have happened. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. But I'm going to let you get if he got anyone else coming on. But you know, it has been a horrible season, and it can't get any worse. We would say.
I don't think it can get worse now. I think we're all resigned to losing the next 4 games, and anything else that that happens other than that. Like if we beat Spurs, that'd be a nice surprise, wouldn't it?
It will, and I'm still hoping, like really hoping for that. And the end of the day, next season, fresh start. The 3 teams that are coming up, we don't know who the 3rd one is, but the 3 teams are coming up hopefully are worse than us, like it's been for quite a few seasons now. And I just think, you mentioned Silva, I'd love it if we got someone like Silva in, but I can't see it happening, or even trying to tempt De Zerbi back to the Prem if we want to be back in the Prem.
Yeah.
We have got some really quality players in this team. It's playing just the right system and not playing players like JWP and maybe even Kilman now, who's looking suspect. But that was just a kick in the pants yesterday, and it was so terrible. It was upsetting, but hopefully we can next season. It's not going to happen this season. Turn it around. If it's not part of great, but I still think it will be, unfortunately. And
absolutely, it will.
And I think we will lose, like I said, Kudus and Alvarez, and that's a real shame. But I do think we will lose them. It's the only way we can actually bring them on, because we have to keep the likes of Bowen.
So what will we make? 150 million, something like that? Look how we just spent that in this last summer. We got worse.
I know, but didn't we? I can remember at the start, we all thought it was one of the best windows we'd ever had.
I know, but it shows you what I think you just do. You get blown away with. We didn't know the ins and outs. We didn't know that 3 of the fucking players were being chosen by Lopetegui, 3 of them were being chosen by Sullivan, and 3 of them were being chosen by Brighton. There was never any direction. There was never any plan to that window. It was just fucking just bizarre. It was just the most West Ham thing ever. It was. And that's why you can't have any... And this is what I mean. When you look at Potter's relative success, because it wasn't success at Brighton, it weren't. Just have a look at his league finishes and everything else. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, but that was with the absolute perfect backing and the perfect mechanism and the perfect system behind him, feeding him the perfect players. He's never getting that at West Ham. He's not. You need someone that can be... You need someone that can polish a turd, that can work with not the perfect pieces and make it work, because that's all you're going to get at West Ham. So you need a more capable manager, not someone that is so one-dimensional, that can only do one thing, because it's just going to be fucked. Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, the only player I was really gutted that didn't work out, and there was little spurts of it, but didn't work out, was Soler. I think he's got so much quality. Believe it, sometimes
I like him.
He links up with Paqueta, and some of the passes that they can both see. You know, there was a couple of chances he had that he should have scored. There was one, I think it was against Fulham or something like that. It went over the bar. It was the way it came out. But I just think if he would have actually had more opportunities and played in the right positions and then got those goals, I think he could have been a revelation. And I'm not going over the top. I think it could have been amazing. I do think, obviously, Paqueta was affected all by this court stuff going on, and we lost a lot of what he could show.
Which
then
you can understand
I think,
if the guy's about to lose his career.
Oh, totally, 100%, 100%. And then we lost Bowen, as you know, which affected Lopetegui more with the injury, and that was a big loss because as soon as he was back, he was scoring again, and maybe that would have helped. Same with Antonio being a tit and crashing his car. We didn't want to see him. That was a massive loss.
But the thing is, every single team can look to injuries as the reasons why. And
totally.
We literally are, in terms of injury sustained, we've had the least out of any Premier League club this year. The least. We're the least unlucky club with injuries this year. The least unlucky. That's the God's honest truth.
No, and it shows how important the squad is then, and it shows how poor our squad is compared to other teams that can rotate and bring in replacements, because when you think, if you want a striker, I'm not a fan, but you've got Ings there, but I wouldn't play him. I'm not saying I'd play him, but if you think we need a striker...
I'd rather play Ings than no striker. I'd rather play... Ings would be better than Bowen. Bowen is a shit striker. Play him out on the right-hand side. He's a world beater. Play him as a striker. You're killing him.
Yeah.
It's
But I wouldn't say playing, but I'm saying it's like ridiculous that it's our only choice if we had to. So at times maybe we should have done, but he should have possibly looked in January. Other than this Ferguson, that's been a nightmare again. The lad's obviously lacking in confidence, and he's not a hold-up player. He's not the player that we needed at the time. And I just think they've got to make the right decisions next season. I think they're going to, like I said, I don't want to sound like stuck, they're going to keep with Potter, unfortunately. I know they're going to keep with him.
I don't know. Now, with how bad it's going, I'll tell you what, it ain't keeping with Potter. If you saw him in that press conference, I don't know. That was a signs of a man that could actually be prepared to walk. To crack like that after 13, 14 games. Fuck, he ain't got the mental resilience for it, mate. He really hasn't.
Well, it'd be good if he does walk. Yeah. But I don't. And I know it's rubbish, but there's all this talk, isn't there, of when he gets his transfer window or gets his team and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, and I suppose looking at it, they're going to give him that opportunity. They're going to get before he came in, some of them players would have wanted to have left anyway at the end of the season, and understandably so, because of there's something not quite gelling there. Bowen's not a leader; he shouldn't be captain. You need the right, and there's no talkers as such, other than what we saw from Fulkrug, who's hardly played. But there's no one there that's sort of pulling them all together, the sort of thing that Noble would have done back in the day. I don't think he's right.
I don't even know that Potter would want that type of character in the team. I mean, it feels a little bit like Fulkrug's trodden on his toes. How dare you come out and have a voice? I'm the boss. I think there's a bit of a narcissist in there, mate. I know that he comes out and he seems all pink and fluffy on the surface, but I'm not so sure he's the nice man manager that everyone says that he is. I think he pays everyone fucking lip service. He's a control freak, which most managers have got to be, I suppose. You've got to be a control freak to a degree. But I don't know. I think if I was Potter, I would have handled that Fulkrug thing differently. I would have used it first and foremost to my advantage, and I'd have gone, fuck it. I'm on. He's blamed the players to that effect. I'd have been like, I completely understand where he's coming from. Put him back in the squad, but then I would have had a quiet word with him behind the scenes. I'd have backed him in public, but I would have said to him behind the scenes, if you do that again, you're fucking on the bench. Don't do that again.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's what I'd have said. But I would have used it. Do you know what I mean? Because the way a lot of people were interpreting that was that he was attacking the players. Well, he weren't, was he? Because Potter, fuck me, is he offended? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, but he still, not saying because he should have started, definitely, but he still brought him on, and he knew he had to, and he knew if not, it could have got worse if he hadn't brought him on as such. We could have lost by. I mean, Brighton deserved to win at the end of the day. They were the better team. If we had won, it would have been a smash and grab, but I'd have took that.
Yeah.
But Brighton were by far the better team. Again, the midfield didn't come out to that winner for them. They should have closed him down before letting him have that shot. I mean, what a goal! What a goal! Yeah. You can't. It was, I couldn't believe he had that ability.
Yeah, but it's a great goals that they scored against us. Yeah, two great goals. But this is what happens when you sit so deep and you invite. If you was playing Sunday League football, if my kids' team, if they sit back and they allow 15, 16-year-olds to have a run and a clear shot on goal, they're going to hit the fucking target. They do. You get weldies in that. So you're allowing Premier League footballs to have a clear run at goal. Of course, both of those goals that they scored, they weren't really under any pressure. Not really. They had the time to pick their spot. You know, they was good goals, but it weren't like they was freak weldies that came from nowhere. That was down to us.
Oh, no, there was no pressure on them. No. There was no closing down. It should have been like push out, close them down. And, you know, even if it deflects off the player and goes for a corner or whatever. But again, we had no press. Sitting back is just not working. We've got to press these teams more. I actually did think we were pressing at one stage against Brighton. I think even part in the first half, but certainly the start of the second half, we seemed to be having a lot more control of the ball, but we didn't. Then we somehow, even before the 2-1, well before that, when we went 2-1 up, we would drop back for whatever reason. And he got it wrong. He totally got it wrong, and I think that's why he was so angry more than the loss. I think because it made him look a clown, and the same that he's done against Southampton with the late goal. I think it was Everton was late goal, and the winner that Liverpool got. He got to learn how to get, because all this bullshit he was saying, you know, the game's 95 minutes or 100 minutes. Well, don't tell us that. We fucking know that. It's about you being able to put the right players on.
He doesn't know how to shut up shop, mate. He just doesn't. You know, he's like I said, you can't remove all of your attacking threats because you're inviting the opposition, all of them, to come at you. You're inviting the Alamo on. If you leave a couple of attacking threats on the field, then they've always got that worry of a counter-attack over their shoulder. So they can't all pour forward then. But he literally removes everything and just goes sit back. And even if people come out and go, oh, it's a mentality thing, it's a hangover from Moyes ball, that they all sit back. Well, I'm sorry. When you set out with a tactic, a negative game plan, which is defeatist, which is we're going to have 7 defensive players. So it's negative from the start. So clearly the pre-match game talk is all going to be about the opposition threats. You're instilling fear in the opponent in your team from the start. And then your changes, taking off attacking players for forward players. And then you hear some people saying, oh, but apparently he's waving his hands forward. Well, that's mixed messaging. You're putting defensive players on and telling them to move up the pitch. I don't think he knows. Mate, I'm being honest with you. I don't think he really does know what he's doing at this level. I really don't. Genuinely. No. I don't believe it.
No, and I mean, controversial. I would have at one stage brought Guilherme on maybe for Kudus. I know because Kudus takes it out on the left. Don't know why he's left-footed, but I'd put Guilherme out there.
Kudus was outstanding yesterday. He was brilliant. Honestly, he was coming in, he was getting hold of that ball, it was sticking to him, he was wriggling out of situations he had no right to wriggle out of. He was the only person that was carrying that ball and getting us up the field at times. The only one that was doing it. But he doesn't get any credit. I'll tell you what, Bowen in the first half, he done less than fuck all. Because like I said, he can't play in that central area. Stick him out on the right wing, because that's all he is. And then all of a sudden, he comes to life. He's a really good player out there. But I don't understand how Bowen can be as shit as what he's been this year, and people look to Kudus and go, oh, he's terrible, we've got to sell him. You're like, what about our captain? He's been just as shit. just as shit. Look, worse in some cases. I don't get it.
Well, I think Bowen has got about 10 goals this season.
It gets.
And Kadew's got about 3 goals.
I appreciate he's got goals. I appreciate that he's got a few
Yeah.
goals, but he ain't just a goal scorer. He's a functional part of the team as well. And sometimes his performances, like I said, I will always look at an overarching performance. I can't say Thomas Souček had a great game when he's done fuck all for 90 minutes, but pops up and glances a header in from across. I can't ignore the 90 minutes and say, oh, yeah, I know, but come on, a Souček. Look at the spinny celebration. He's amazing. I can't, because he was shit for 90 minutes. Not saying he was yesterday. I'm saying in general, that's what Souček is.
Yeah. No, I was going to pull you up there. Yeah. I actually think he had a fairly good, because at times he can't pass. We know that. But I think most of his passes seem to go to players, even if they were short passes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was the Johnny on the spot as usual. He had the chance where he hit the side net in early doors. He had that. It was a great header that hit the bar. The keeper was beaten, I felt. I think there was a lot of things.
He tipped it onto the bar.
Did he? Yeah, right. So even better then.
Yeah.
So and Kadew's, I do think Kadew's absolute quality, but I just don't think it works for our team. I don't know why.
It doesn't work.
I think it's because you've got Bowen as well.
I don't think
Kadew's would love to be in Bowen's position.
I don't think it works for any player in this team. I don't think there is a single player, apart from Wan-Bissaka, who is basically just playing unbelievable for us. And I think you play him at right centre-back, you can play him at right back, you can play him at right wing-back. He's adapting his game, his work ethic, his drive. He's unbelievable. Paqueta, this version of Paqueta, you could play him anywhere at the moment in any system and he will still be good because these are quality players that will, this isn't anything to do with Potter. So he's lucky that he's got a couple of players that are able to be more flexible, which is I suppose what he needs. But not many players can do it. They can't. And plus, it is very defensive. It's defensive heavy. It's unbalanced. There's 7 defensive-minded players to 3 attacking-minded players. It's unbalanced. It shouldn't be like that. But anyway, Mike, I'm going to let you go, mate. It's been a great chat, and I'm just going to give Adam a call, and then I've got to go on a dog walk.
Onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. It's all going to be good. Cheers for the call, mate. Top man.
Okay. Bye.
And to Garino commented back in the screen as well, taking the piss out of me and my ITK exclusives. Listen, right? The only one I'll hold my hands up to for being, I reckon I was easily led because I wanted to believe it, was Alcaraz. I was told that about Alcaraz, and I think I wanted to believe it. All right, so I hold my hands up. I think I might have got stitched up on that one, but nonetheless, it was a fun story. That one was, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. I was fully invested. All of the others, if you have a look, even the young Brazilian, it's come out. All the mainstream media reported it a month later. Exclusives. I only reported about 8 players in the what do you call it window. Every single one of them, it came out later, and we was actually linked with them. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not getting involved in transfers this summer because I've seen how West Ham operate, and it is soul crushing. They do their very best to fuck every deal up. So even if it's obviously genuine, and you've got managers that are linked and players that are linked, you can never tell what we're. It's got to be a miracle for us to get anyone over the line. When we had Tim in, it was different because we had someone that could actually close deals. But all we've got now are people that unravel deals. That's it. Right, one more call, and then I've got to go out. Hang on, 1 minute. Adam. Oh, mate, where are you?
Hello, mate. You all right?
All right, mate. You at the bath now?
I am, mate. Yeah, I am indeed.
Oh, mate. So, how are you, Adam, anyway?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. I'm not bad. I say I'm not bad. I've got fed up with being fed up with West Ham now, to be honest. If that makes sense.
You over it now? I'm over it. We're shit, and I'm over it.
Yeah, I am, mate. I am. I said to you the other day, mate, about I'm just fed up with everything and like this whole Potter out thing, and he's not. Bear in mind, I don't think he's the right fit for West Ham. I really don't. Do you know what I mean? He's not the right fit for West Ham, but he's the right fit for Sullivan.
Yeah.
But I think the players, I mean, you know this, man. I think the players need to start taking responsibility for themselves now. I think we need to put the onus back on them, mate. If I'm being honest.
Which players?
Which players? Well, I think you can probably count, mate, the majority of, and the reason why I say this, and we're going to have a massive rebuild anyway. We're going to lose loads of players, but the reason why I say this is because it's all about mentality. And I know Vogel's come out and said that the mentality is not right, this, that, and the other. What you got to remember is, mate, we've got a manager who's got a degree in psychology, so he knows how to get into players' heads. Right? Well, that's not happening.
Does he?
Well, you would hope he does, but it's
like anything, right? I'm an engineer by nature. There's good engineers and there's shit engineers. We're all engineers.
Yeah.
So just because he's got a degree in psychology doesn't mean he's good. I mean, he comes out and tries to mind fuck us in post-match interviews by paying us lip service. Do you buy any of it? Is he convincing you? I mean, is he Jedi mind tricking you? He ain't me.
No, and this is the point I'm making. I think he's failing in that respect because he knows that we're not listening to the bullshit that he's coming out with. And I think the players are not listening to the bullshit that he's coming out with. They're not buying into it, which is why I think now. So
will that not happen with the next players that come in? Will they? What have you got to do? Have we got to go out and buy a load of players that are susceptible to bullshit?
Well, this is what I was going to lead to. Now, bear in mind, obviously, Sullivan's going to be rubbing his hands with the amount of dealings that he can get his hands into over the summer, right? But a part of that is it's got to be a certain type of mindset of a player. Don't forget, a lot of these players that we've got, right, that are going on, your Caduceus, your Alvarez's, your Paquetas, they was never signed for West Ham as players that really wanted to come to West Ham. In the negotiations, because these players have got buyout clauses.
Can I ask you, just very quickly, before you go any further, because a lot of people were taking this line. Caduce only using West Ham for a stepping stone. Paqueta only using West Ham for a stepping stone. What player could we sign that wouldn't be using West Ham for a stepping stone for something better? What player?
And because this is where we are as a club, and then that comes from Sullivan. That's because that's the kind of reputation and where we are.
The reason we focus on them is because they can actually move on past West Ham because people want them. That's why we go, oh fucking. The fact is, most players that come to us, we end up selling them backwards because they've done so shit. So we're a bad stepping stone club for many. But ultimately, the mentality of any club when they're sold, the dream of coming to now 17th place West Ham ain't going to be for playing in front of that dead stadium. It's going to be for what you go on and do next. You know, if you do well, this is what the agents will be selling. This is how they'll convince them. Premier League, worldwide stage. You do well, you're gonna, you'll get your move. It'll raise your profile. Every player worth their salt. That will be the sales pitch. Everyone.
Yeah, of course. But if we was a club that go back a couple of years when we should have, we should have pushed on when we had Champions League opportunity, things like that, that mindset would then change. We'd be bringing players in, not to use West Ham as a stepping stone, to consolidate top 4, top 5. Do you know what I mean? So the mindset would be different. Yeah. The players that we brought in, right, would have been used, been told, negotiated at West Ham, an opportunity for you to play in the Premier League, to get a bigger move in the future. We're going to slap an £85 million, buyout clause on you. So, so the club are going to get something from it as well, because that's not right. The club do need to get something out of it, blah, blah, blah.
But do you not think that we've had several chances, repeated chances, even if you go back to 15, 16, well, and before that, to be honest, every time we've had a chance to move on and consolidate and build, Sullivan takes us backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, though, mate. This comes from the top, but the point I'm making is obviously with where we are right now. All this doom and gloom around West Ham. It's because we've not been run properly as a club. We've been run as a cash cow. We know that. And it's going to come home to roost soon, mate. Because eventually West Ham ain't going to be worth fuck all. So Sullivan can't get anything out of the club anymore, right? Yeah. But where we are right now, and I'm not saying I want Potter. I'm not saying I'm happy with Potter, right? I just don't think he's been able to get his point across because the players that we've got, some are buying into it. I remember Saka, Bowens.
I'm not being funny. Paqueta has been fantastic since he's actually come in. Since he's come in.
Yeah.
Even when he was using him as a makeshift striker. Do you remember when he first came in?
Paqueta's bought into it. I mean, he's obviously been able to get into Paqueta's head, get him on side, bring him back up. But obviously, on the background, we probably know that he's got good news coming on the horizon with the court case and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably helps as well. But the players that I'm saying about the likes of Kudus, using him as an example because we know he's going. He don't give a shit about West Ham because he knows he's going. So he's not going to really be trying to tap into Potter's methods as much as someone else that's going to stay.
I think there's I think there's something different with Kudus because if you, I spoke to someone that follows Kudus internationally as well. Apparently his form, it's just dipped. Like in terms of, apparently he's a confidence player. So wherever he's played before, it's always been kind of he's been scoring goals and he's just setting the world alight. Both internationally and at club level. And I think coming into West Ham, obviously that first season, he had David Moyes, who didn't want to play him because he was a Tim player. Took him 8 games to give him a fucking go, and then he actually brought him in, scored, couldn't drop in, ignore him anymore. But then obviously Loppy's come in and this, that, the other. I just think some players are a little bit more mentally fragile than others. I don't believe that Kudus is down in tools at all. I don't believe it. I think that's bullshit for me. I think he's the effort that he put in yesterday goes completely counter to that. That's a nothing game, and he was running his arse off. He was pressing from the front. He was getting involved in tight areas where players are trying to kick him. He's holding them off, and he's carrying the ball. So I don't really buy that. I just think this is where it comes down to a skill of a manager to be able to manage different players in different ways because all humans are different. Some are easy to manage. Paqueta, in this sort of fucking pomp, is going to be easy to manage. He's going to be a dream because he just wants to go out there and do it and play and have fun. Bowen is probably the type of player that if he was playing him 200 quid a week, as Noble said, or 200 grand a week, he's always going to put in the same effort levels every week. Don't always play well, but always puts in the same. Some other players, you're going to have to deal with the human element, which is the mental side of things, where their confidence dips, where they don't feel loved, where all this. And I think Kudus is one of those players. I do.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you in that respect regarding Kudus being a confidence player. But all I'm saying is obviously we've got to look at the type of mentality that these players have got. You look at these players, and the bulk of them have been there for under 3 managers now in the last 12 months, right? And obviously go back a bit further, the last 6 months of David Moyes, regime. These players haven't performed to what they can perform. And it's not because of, part of it is down to lack of coaching because the managers that we've brought in haven't been great. Obviously Moyes, like you said.
If you could give it a percentage, how much of our struggles are down to our midfield?
100% they are. But
so why does this manager, why has he reunited a guy that should have done his homework on Jedward? Why did he recall James Ward-Prowse and why did he reinstate that pairing? Even with Alvarez, a midfield, probably one of the worst midfields that you could see. Now, Alvarez is the best of those 3. I don't care what anyone says. Now, how have we ended up in a situation where James Ward-Prowse has become the mainstay and Souček? Alvarez has become the bit part player. So this man has maintained our biggest weakness in the team, yet we're sitting here criticising the players when, in my opinion, Adam, they're being set up to fail because the game, and we've all played football, games are won and lost in midfield. They're won and lost in midfield. It's the most important area. We've been insufficient there for so long. This man has other options, but he doesn't do it. He fields the worst possible choices in midfield, which, as far as I'm concerned, sets us up to fail. The players are not stupid. They're professionals. They know. They understand like we do, more better than us, who the good players are and who should be playing. They probably feel similar frustrations when they see the team sheet and go, oh, for fuck's sake. That's probably how a lot of them feel.
They probably do, but if you think about it though, right, Nick, and again, we've played football and we've heard all pundits and managers and even ex-players speak about things. As soon as you cross that white line, it's down to the players. The manager can only do so much. Now, again, this is not me defending Potter. Let me just make that clear.
No,
right?
I know.
I'm just trying to look at a different spin on it.
You've also got the arsehole with the players, which I get.
Yeah, and when the players cross the white line, the manager can only do so much. He spent the past week on a training ground, going through his tactics, how we're going to prepare for this game, blah, blah, blah. When the players cross onto the pitch, it's down to them to implement what he's put on. If they are not doing that, which Fulkrug has turned around and said that not all the players are, you can't blame Potter for that. You can't.
But
The players have to take responsibility, right? Hang on, mate. Look at the game yesterday, right? Look at the game yesterday. We backed off. Now I'm going to put Falkirk into that because he was the one.
Hang on. Why did that happen in both the last games? So when you look at it,
Right,
right? No. Listen, 1 second. So Southampton. So you want to keep the players up the field because you don't want them to go back on the 85th minute where Southampton ain't even really posing a threat to us at that stage. You take off your striker for a midfielder and you bring on an additional defender. Now that goes counter to any message that you're trying to send that team. In fact, the substitutions by default go, fuck, we're going defensive because you're going 5 at the back and you're losing your forward. In this game, he's look what he done with Soufal.
Nick, I'm in agreement in certain elements of that he's not making it easy, for himself by making these stupid decisions. I'm in total agreement that he should have when he put Soufal on, he should have put Soufal on the right and put Aaron Ramsdale on the left against Brighton. He should have done that. Yeah. But the point I'm making is that these players, for some reason, have a confidence issue, and it's not just from Potter. It stems back to Moyes.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But I don't.
It's in their heads because they're just retreating, Nick. They're just the goals yesterday. But this does 35 yards out. There's no one block.
But I get it, and it is a good call. Glenn's saying it is a good call because it's raising a different angle on the subject. And although I don't, there are valid points in it. There's so many players that are underperforming. But for me, the main issue is there are players still in this team that don't have to be in there, but they still are. For instance, he's a data guy. He's a data guy as well. Well, if you're a data guy, right, even if you're just going on data and you're not using the eye test, why the fuck is Max Kilman an ever present in that team? Why? I don't really understand that because you do have other options. We do have Mavropanos, who statistically, if you're a data guy, is better than Kilman. Statistically, Mavropanos is our best defender. If you take all the others, so if you look at that, you've got Tadibo, you've got Aaron Wan-Bissaka that could come back into a back three as well. You could take Kilman out. James Ward-Prowse don't have to fucking be there. I don't really understand what the rest of the team are supposed to be doing in a Premier League game where margins are so fine, and that's the reason why managers are paid so much money because it isn't just once the players cross the white line, it's all on them. That ain't it. That ain't where the manager's responsibility stops. They get paid a fortune to manage, to set the team up, motivate, manage the game. They have to manage the game as well, both throughout the whole thing. How many times have we seen Potter just set up to kill 45 minutes of a game to feel out the opposition? Most of the time, we end up losing by that point. We're trailing. So he's got to change it and unfuck what he's done because he's made the wrong decisions before the game. Now, this is what feeds in to losing the confidence of the players because these players have to believe in what he's saying. They do. I'm not saying they'll be intentionally obstinate, but they will be thinking in their heads, this geezer don't know what he's fucking doing. Once that starts happening, you have lost them to a degree. And that don't mean the players ain't going to come out and play for the shirt and play for the fans. They'll do their best, but ultimately what you've got then is a problem because they're not really buying in to what the guy is telling them. He ain't winning them over and making them believe that he knows what he's doing and that he's setting them up for success. That's the problem.
But so a couple of points there. I reckon some of the reasons why certain players are playing, right, and it's because, and this will probably feed it. And again, I'm not making excuses for Potter. I'm just trying to think about it in a different spin because I don't want Potter to be in charge of West Ham and recruitment and whatever is going to happen next year. I don't think he's the right man. However, I think, well, if we get rid of Potter, who are we going to get next? Because the club don't give a shit who the manager is. The club doesn't. As long as they can do enough to maintain a Premier League status, that's all that matters.
I completely agree with that. Completely agree with
that. But I reckon some of these players are playing because they're going to be sold. And he's probably been told from the top, you need to make sure that these players are getting some game time so they can at least maintain some sort of value because we're going to need to try and recoup as much as possible.
Okay, explain Alvarez to me.
Right, okay, so Alvarez is probably a different story. He's already probably signed a pre-agreement with someone else, in my opinion. I think that's or the fact that he's had such a big blowout, probably in front of absolutely everybody, that there's no coming back from that. And he's probably told, which is why it's probably come out in the news that we can, we're happy for him to go because he's probably already got a club lined up anyway. That's probably why Alvarez is.
And also, mate, Paqueta and Kudus, they don't need to play to inflate their worth and their value, because everyone knows what they are.
But the thing is, you can't drop Paqueta anyway, because Paqueta's playing the best football he's played for a long time.
According to a lot of our fans, he's the main root cause.
Paqueta. No, absolutely not. There's players I won't play in that team. Exactly, the midfield, Souček and Ward-Prowse, you can't play them two. But I would guess that the reason why Souček is playing is probably because they want to try and recuperate as much as they can for him. You know, letting him score the goals, whether they're winners or not, it's irrelevant. He's still scoring goals.
Well, do you know what I've been told? What I've been told with Potter. I've been told that he is under massive pressure from the board, and that's one of the reasons why he came out, and he did, and this is why I've used that line as well. About the XG, because he did make that point in his press conference, the pre-match press conference, where he said at Brighton they cared about the data and they could see things. They don't at West Ham. They don't. So he is under pressure to get results, because every Premier League place is worth $3 million, and we've literally
he's on a hide into nothing, mate.
Yeah,
he's on a hide into absolutely nothing, because at the end of the day, right? You know, because the summer's going to be a big change and a big rebuild, right? And if Potter has some sort of say in it, then you would hope that he would bring players in.
You're not getting me.
You would hope that Potter would bring in players that's got a certain mindset and a mentality that would allow him to get into their brain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Now, if that happens, and we sign these players, not necessarily superstars, but average players that actually want to play for the club, that want to prove themselves, and we start seeing an upturn in form and results, we're going to be happy. We are going to be happy. That's the reality.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If it doesn't work that way, Sullivan has had an influence in these signings, so he's getting something out of it anyway. If it doesn't work, then the finger points solely at Potter. These are Potter's players. It didn't work. Blah blah blah, and then we go through the whole cycle again. We're going to bring someone in at Christmas time because Potter's failed, right, to keep us in the Premier League, and then we go again. That's the cycle, and David Sullivan's happy with that. The root cause of the problem is the ownership. We know that. Right, but the point I'm making is that some of these players don't have the right mental capacity to try and do the right thing. Some of these players are just backing up. Some of these mercenaries.
Look, I'm no longer going to defend the players or anything like that. Okay, so let's play it from your angle. Okay, let's just ponder on that. So, a lot of the players. See, I'm on board with you. I think we need a massive rebuild. We do need a big rebuild. But my idea of, because if you look at the it's going to be massive anyway. If you look at, I'll probably get it all wrong, but if you see, for me, James Ward-Prowse has got to go. Ings, Cresswell, Antonio, Guido. I would sell Kilman. I would sell. I mean, that ain't even all of them. That's 7. That's 7 already. So it's a big rebuild anyway. But these are the types of players that I would get rid of. I think it's mad to, if I'm the board at the moment, especially with the situation that Potter's in now, where he's going to finish the season badly, to go out and be expected to build a new team under these circumstances, he's going to be on a hide into fuck all, which is why I think a managerial change now is you need someone to come in who's got a clean slate, so that the fan base are going to give them a little bit of patience next year. Because whatever manager, even Potter, with these new players next season, they're going to need time. The pressure that is going to be on Potter from the start after the finish this season is going to be fucking epic. It's going to be so bad. So I think that they've got to do it. They've got to roll the dice again. But going back to my earlier point, with what they've just done in the last 12 months with Moyes, Loppy and Potter, now I do think we might be in a very real situation of who the fuck can we actually get now? Who's going to come in now? That's the worry for me now.
This is the problem I've got, Nick, because when it was under Lopetegui, it was bad. It was really bad.
This is worse.
And we wanted, exactly. We didn't think it could get worse than Lopetegui, and it has done, right? But now I'm thinking to myself, who could we get? Is it going to be a Rafa Benitez? Is it going to be a Sean Dyche? Is it going to be a Southgate? Because if it's anything like that, which it could easily be, because our stock as a club has dropped so much, we ain't going to be able to attract, the managers. The likes of Marco Silva, who would have jumped to the opportunity and wanted to come to West Ham, he would look at West Ham now and think, absolutely fucking not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So our stock has dropped. So if we got rid of Potter,
I think you could. I think you could do it. You could do it at West Ham if you were to make promises to a manager that is experienced, that could bring his own team in with him, and you was to say to him, "There's a complete rebuild here, a complete new project. You've got a big club with a big fan base. It's a fucking low bar, it's an half a low bar. You come in and win a few games and play a little bit of half decent football, you're going to be a legend. They'll have a statue up for you. But what you can do is you can completely oversee, you can have your own director of football, just drive it, because we don't know what we're doing. We need someone that knows what they're doing. Here's the keys, take it. And here's a load of fucking money. We could get someone in, but we know that Sullivan will never hand over control of transfers to other managers for the very reasons that I laid out at the start of this video. He won't.
Exactly, and that is the problem. One of the reasons why that he won't bring in a manager that us fans want, along with a director of football to come within the times and be a club that's run properly. Sullivan won't ever do that, because that will please the West Ham fans, and all of a sudden then we ain't got no one to moan at. We ain't got no one to moan at, whether it's the manager, the players. Our attention will be moaned at regarding the board. But if they're doing the right thing, right, whether we like them or not, if they're doing the right thing, and we can see that, then we're going to get off their backs. But it comes down to greed. It comes down to money.
One second,
and that's all the problem is.
Jordan Hugill, Flynn Downs, cheaper players that have failed. Vlasic was a bit of a cheaper player. If you're looking at it, what was he, 20 million? He was good, wasn't he? There's been so many. There's been so many players. I would say 90% of our signings have flattered to deceive. And in fact,
I agree.
In fact, all of our better signings is what Trodge is saying. A lot of our better players that have come into West Ham and struggled under the constraints of playing for West Ham for these dickhead managers, we've sold them under the guise of can't be fit for the Premier League. They've gone on. Yeah, Ings, there's another one. Cornet, there's another one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, mate, I mean, this is the point I'm making, is that we will bring in these managers and we'll bring in a certain type of player, right, that, isn't good enough, because David Sullivan's had some sort of involvement in that. And while we've got these bad managers in play, or bad players, that's where the attention is, and it deflects away from them. They are the fire blanket.
1 second, Adam. So Trodge has come back with, he's basically saying all expensive players are shit. So Skamaka, Skamaka was a top player, right?
Yeah, just using the wrong system.
Using the wrong system. He was. He's got injured now, but he was a top player. Haller, quite clearly a top player. Quite clearly.
Yeah.
Kilman, shit. That was the manager's player.
Yeah,
we had to give him.
We got stitched up there.
We got stitched up there. Tadebo, he's not shit. We've paid his value. We won't lose money on Tadebo. That's not a bad signing.
No. Tadebo's a good player, but again, he's an example of mentality.
Yeah.
Because apparently, I'm hearing things. No question, he's got the talent and he's got the ability to be one of our best defenders, if not the best defender that we've got. And he can he can move on to a club that's bigger and better than West Ham. He can do that because he's got the ability. If he ain't got the ability, he can't do that. But he's a player that's proven the mentality side of things. I'm hearing that he wants to be coming off the pitch, not being told to come off. He wants to come off the pitch, before the end of the game because of this, and this.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And he's been given a full bill of health, mate. That from the staff at the club that he's actually 100% fit. So why he wants to keep coming off, and that's a mentality thing. If someone offered him a move, he's going to take it. He doesn't want to play for West Ham, but he would have come in. There's all these stories that, he couldn't have gone to Man United directly because of ownership, but he's come to West Ham for a year and he's going to move to Man U. There's all those stories, obviously he wants to go to Juventus and then miraculously he appeared at West Ham. I mean, there would have been some sort of, things involved in the negotiations. They just give us a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then obviously, so that's a player that I don't think is up for the fight, which is why I said on the call where we did a few weeks ago that I would sell him. Not because he's not good enough ability-wise, but because I just don't think he's ready. He wants to be at West Ham. And if there's players that don't want to be here, mate, then you fuck them off. Do you know what I mean?
No. Yeah, look. I think when you're at that stage, when they don't want a beer anymore, but you need to have a plan, mate. There needs to be some direction there. There's got to be for the club. I don't think that there is now. I don't think there is. Anyway, Adam, I've got to go because my missus is calling me. I've got to go for a dog walk now. Fucking 2:30.
Yeah.
So thanks for the call, mate. Thank you very much. It was good. Heated, got me blood pressure up on a few little points. But but it was good though because it brought out a few different talking points. It was good. So thanks very much, mate, and I will speak to you soon.
No worries. Take it easy, mate. Speak to you later.
Cheers, mate.
Bye,
mate.
Bye. Right,
that is it. I've got to go. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to Adam for phoning in. Thank you to all you lovely people in the chat. We covered off quite a lot there. And I'll speak to you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. All right? Don't forget, drop a like on the video. It's not the love heart. You've got to come out the live chat. Hit the thumbs up. It does really help me. Speak to you soon. Come on, you ones.